Welcome to the Brain Injury Association of North Carolina's second premier webinar series, part 2 of Amy Root's presentation. Amy talks about the quality of life, not just life itself. Her husband had a brain injury about 10 years ago, and he has had continued recovery after being given a very grim prognosis in the beginning. She and her daughter are very involved. Their home is wherever the family is gathered over the years. And Amy has talked at several conferences. I've heard her talk about daily activities at home and in the community and how we use those as therapy. So I'm going to turn the program over to Amy.
Thank you, Susan. Well, thank you for inviting me into your living room once again to share with you tips, tools, and strategies to bring community and an active lifestyle into your home, part 2. As we recap some slides from presentation 1, they might look a little familiar, but pay attention because some pictures have changed. If you missed part 1, I'm Amy Root, a passionate family advocate, and my whole world is in the picture to the right of your screen. My husband Adam and I have been married for 13 years this August, and his nickname for me is his special little lady friend, since he really doesn't always remember we're married. And our daughter Mackenzie keeps life very interesting with her hobby farm that consists of horses and alpacas. So what do I do and who do I work with? I work with healthcare professionals, helping to increase their job and career satisfaction by helping them to understand just how incredibly vital it is to treat patients outside of the box and as individuals, and the importance of bringing family into the journey and incorporating them into the plans of care. Because no one likes those peg in the hole therapies. Survivors of brain injury share the diagnosis only in name, but each recovery is so individualized, and the treatment should be too. I also work with families, increasing the quality of life by approaching a life as therapy method, and finding and utilizing their community resources that benefit their recovery, and to establish plans of care that matter, because we know when they matter, they work. After all, medical therapies, they don't last forever, but a therapeutic lifestyle does. Let's go ahead and do a quick recap from presentation 1. We learned just how incredibly necessary and important community is to both the survivor and the caregivers. I taught you simple ways and practical ways to get your friends and family involved in your recovery. I talked about how important goal setting is and how it narrows it down to specific asks. And remember to be flexible, because not everything you try will be a good fit. Focus on the things that increase your quality of life. And last but not least, this is not something that is going to happen overnight, so be patient with yourself and don't give up. So today's agenda, we're going to just share a little bit how I'm related to traumatic brain injury. So now what? What happens when you've reached out to your friends and family and there doesn't seem to be the resources necessary to build a community team? I have good news for you. You can still bring community and an active lifestyle into your home. I'll share with you some projects and ideas of how to do that. I'll share a little bit of some important reminders that are easy to forget, some tips and resources. We'll do a quick recap, and then we'll have a time of Q&A. You might be wondering what my connection is to brain injury. Well, unfortunately, it's through my husband, Adam. Just 2 years after we were married, Adam wrecked on his motocross track, suffering a severe traumatic brain injury, a diffuse axonal injury, and a subdermal hematoma. After 10 months unresponsive in a coma, he finally began to show signs of emerging. In the last 10 years, Adam has relearned how to walk and is now running and jumping and riding scooters. He has relearned to read, write, and talk. And in 2018, he underwent his 15th, 16th, and 17th brain surgeries. Through Adam's perseverance, we see daily progress and regular miracles. But since coronavirus, left us all in quarantine, we have all had to rethink our goals and community during this time. And we've all had to establish new normals. In part 1's discussion, I showed you how to get your friends and family involved in your community. I'm sure many of you have begun to make your lists and invite your friends and family into your recovery. But remember, when you begin to ask and you lay aside your vulnerability and your insecurities, and you are ready to reach out to your friends, don't be alarmed if some of your responses begin to look a little like this. It's easy to get discouraged, and you might be thinking, I can't believe this is happening. Or maybe some of your responses look like this, where nobody's just responding at all. And you find yourself getting quite frustrated, wondering if you're ever going to have that active lifestyle, a sense of community, or even a new sense of normalcy. Well, newsflash, I have some really good news to share with you today. You can still have a sense of community and lead an active lifestyle right from the comfort of your own home. But it's going to continue to start with goals. And I shared the acronym in presentation 1. I really like SMART: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and focusing on time. Setting goals will always be the foundation of a successful recovery. And if you don't have goals, how can you really define success? Adam and I separate our goals into 3 categories: life goals, which are something Adam and I usually do together; therapy goals that are specifically related to his recovery process; and bucket list goals, which is our dreams and the things we want to pursue. There's a lot you can do from your home and ways that you can be active and build a sense of community. Let's look at just a few. Virtual real-time field trips, bucket list goals. I highlighted this one in particular because, like I mentioned in the last slide, we bucket list goals as our dreams and things we want to pursue. And I'm embarrassed to tell you that it's taken me 10 years to allow myself to make dreams again. And as I've been pursuing dreams in this last year, I really wish I would have began to incorporate them earlier on in our journey. I can see the benefit, not just for myself, but for Adam as well. Take time to write those thank you cards. I'll share with you in a few slides how we handle our thank yous. Game night or movie night, puzzles, they can be online or tangible, and don't just think they have to be the pieces kind. Think outside of the box there too, like Sudoku, word search puzzles. There's different and many types of puzzles. Virtual tours, such as museums, zoos, and aquarium, many of them have those available on their website. Online classes. Did you know you can learn just about anything you want to through online classes and through YouTube? Never underestimate the power of household chores when it comes to the recovery process. Sometimes just those routine things that need to get done can mean a lot to both the survivor and the caregiver. Online exercise programs, social media challenges, and there's so much more if you just do a little bit of research. But being quarantined has meant that we've had to give up activities we've really enjoyed but are no longer able to do. So we've had to get creative on how to bring that into our routine at home. In part 1, I shared with you how we came across a hashtag Wednesday Wellness. And it was exercises that were done by a neuro PT at a rehab center in Pennsylvania. I put this slide in here as well because it's important to realize that you can still participate in this without the help of anyone else. This particular hashtag Wednesday Wellness allows Adam to be independent in his exercises. But if this isn't your cup of tea, YouTube has just about any type of exercise you could possibly desire to do, from chair exercises to yoga to just stretching. And I'm pretty sure that just looking at this video of Adam and I exercising, I'm sweating by just remembering this workout. But now I'd like to invite you along to check out some of the things that we do at home to keep Adam busy, engaged, and giving him that sense of community. First up, a few virtual field trips. Adam and I have done many virtual tours and field trips, but one of my all-time favorite was visiting a dairy farm in California, right from my living room. This was a real-time interactive field trip. And as you can see, I placed a whiteboard in front of Adam. As the presentation was going on, I wrote down a few questions. As they paused, or towards the end, Adam was able to answer a few of those. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at what we learned on this field trip. Can you milk the cow how we just showed you?
And I gave it a 3. As you can see, there's some white milk coming out. Now,
Yeah, that's exactly how they showed you.
it's very hot, very warm. The cow Roxy and all the other cows, their temperature is 101.5. So that's very warm. Now we do milk our cows with a machine.
So as you can see, Adam and I learned how to milk a cow. Well, you never know what you might learn on those visual field trips. Adam's life goal during this time, now remember, life goals for us were things that Adam and I can do together. And his life goal that he chose for this season of quarantine was to cook more. When I asked him specifically what type of cooking he wanted to do, I gave him 3 choices: cooking meals, baking sweets, or grilling. And he answered he'd really like to grill more. So together we worked really hard to make this goal happen. It's really important that when you start to think about your community and things at home, to just start. Sometimes we overthink it and we terrify ourselves into even beginning. So I'm going to say here that the #1 most important thing that you need to remember to do is to just start. And to start small. Remember, picking 1 or 2 items that you really want to focus on and some tasks behind that is the best place to start. Now remember, we have been building this lifestyle for years. And so we've had to totally get creative, and this has taken time for us to build. So as I'm about to share with you, just remember everything has taken time. Build and adjust your goals using projects that matter. And I say this because sometimes you have to dial it back from where you started to be successful, and sometimes you might need to make that goal a little bit more challenging. In this season of quarantine, I wanted Adam to become independent in some tasks. In the slides ahead, this is still a work in progress for us. So even though it might look accomplished, know that we are still working daily on these goals. In this season, this was the first time we've put Adam completely in charge of a garden. He, with buddies, put together and built this raised garden bed just a few weeks ago, and Adam did all of the planting. He still needs to be reminded to water those plants, but the great thing about being independent with a plant task is he can see the progress and growth without me having to remind him. One of the ways that we continue to make sure he can see it is by measuring the plants and taking pictures, going back and writing it in a journal. All of this has really allowed me to find some relaxed time on the deck and just participate by watching. And since Adam wants to cook more, I also decided he needed to help with the meal planning and the preparation as well. This has worked on his communication, his typing, and he actually is finishing other goals as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at what this looked like. So what are you searching for?
I'm searching for oatmeal raisin and cookie recipes.
Could you combine those into one sentence so they're not separate? I ran out of room to write it on one line. So it's not oatmeal raisin and cookie recipe. It's an oatmeal raisin.
Cookie recipe?
Yeah, it's all one word, like one thing.
We need to find an oatmeal raisin cookie recipe.
Yes, please. Can you go ahead and type that in? Look for it.
I suppose so. I barely changed
Oh
it.
yeah, you did. You did it. Now to set Adam up for success on this particular task, the beginning of the video was a whiteboard to his right side. I placed the 2 things that I asked him to do. Number 1, open up a web browser, and number 2, the specific item I asked him to search for. Again, this was great help on his communication and his ability to find stuff for himself on the internet. Don't be afraid to try new things and new activities during the season. You might surprise yourself by your own capabilities, and you might actually find a new hobby. Adam and I decided we were going to try a farm-to-table activity. We went to a local strawberry patch, picked our strawberries, came home, made some jam, and even decided to can it. Did you know how many online classes there are? You can learn anything from a foreign language to playing an instrument to writing computer code. Adam wakes up every single day wanting to go back to work. And he used to be a computer programmer. So we've decided to try some online classes. Let's take a look. Adam, you're actually writing code.
Well, what do you know?
I'm so proud of you.
Sheesh.
Now, remember when I said that we might look like we're a little farther along? This is one of those instances. Adam's actually repeating lesson 1 over and over and over again right now so that his brain can make the pathways and connections to hold that memory before he can move on to lesson 2 and build on that. So be patient with yourself. It will take time. This is a great opportunity when we find ourselves socially distancing ourselves or being careful to take the time to thank the people that matter in our life, whether they're medical professionals, public service members, or friends and family. Door deliveries, driveway visits, or a ring and dash are all fun ways to do that. Remember all that jam we canned and the cookies we were preparing to make? We partnered them with a few more goodies and decided to drop them off doing driveway visits with each of our community team members, just to letting them know how much we appreciate them. I love a good theme day. This just helps me stay on task and stay focused. We themed our Tuesdays, Thank You Tuesdays. We take this time to write a letter to a healthcare professional that has played a part of Adam's recovery. Adam writes a few sentences and lets him know that he appreciates them. But because of Adam's aphasia, sometimes his sentences and words don't make sense. Now, I don't go back and change those. I just add a few sentences of gratitude myself and I mail it on. We've heard back from several healthcare professionals stating how appreciative they were just to see Adam's handwriting on the card. But let's not forget how important it is to stay on top of our therapy goals. So let's take a look at a few ways that we've done that. As I mentioned in a few slides previous, we are really working to build Adam's memory, both day to day and really week by week. We've used this process and it seems to be working pretty well for us. On the picture to the left of your screen is a Polaroid printer. It's about the size of my iPhone, and I tote it with me everywhere we go. It prints pictures directly from my cell phone in just a matter of seconds. I then print off the picture of an activity Adam and I've done throughout the day. I put it into a notebook that has lined lines on there so he knows where to write, and he's created his own journal. This allows him to remember not only what he's done in that day, but the week and the month as well. All of these items we found on Amazon. We've just added them to our Amazon wish list, and we've been surprised when gifts just arrive at our doorstep. Comprehension, executive functioning, and problem solving have all been part of our goals as well. We've used these interfacing cards that we purchased again with our Amazon wish list, and it has a picture with 6 questions on the back. Some days I have Adam type out the questions and answers, and other days I have him write them down Let's go ahead and take a look. Some of the questions are as simple as an item found within the picture, and some of them are as complicated as interpreting the motions within the picture. It's been a great way for us to work with Adam. And in this time of being at home more, we get to spend more time with our loved ones and our family. We've chosen to be very intentional about this time as a family, and we've set aside a game night or day, or a movie night and day. But for us, we really enjoy those board games. We set up a bunch of snacks and we pretty much play games until Adam says he's done. Now remember from part 1, you can play online games with your friends and family too. But sometimes there might be no one else around to play with, and that's okay too. There are plenty of one-player games available out there. You just might have to do a little research. This particular one is a Sudoku puzzle, like it's actually a wood box with Sudoku tiles. So instead of completing it in a workbook, this is a physical way you can do that as well. But being at home more has been great, but it's also mean there's been more messes and a lot more to clean up around. I found I couldn't do it all myself and I couldn't keep track of it all. So I made a list and I figured out the things that I could delegate to Adam. I also learned there were things I needed to take back and things that I could hand him that I was surprised about. Just be flexible when you go to create this list. And I've really had to give up my idea of how I think that it should be done or what it should look like when it's done, and just be thankful for the help that I receive. Now remember to take time to rest and relax. It's so easy to say that, it's a lot harder to do. And so when you're building out your schedule and your time, be very intentional about the things that matter to you and what you need. If being around other people makes a significant difference for you, find ways that you can safely spend time with those that you love while practicing social distancing, whether it's a picnic or whether it's ice cream shared at on the back of a bumper in a parking lot. Never underestimate the healing powers of getting outside, even if the weather isn't perfect. Try to get outside for fresh air every day. This makes a difference not just for Adam, but for myself as well. And different terrains, whether it's walking down a sidewalk or walking at a park, really do matter. But most importantly, taking time to just rest and relax and do nothing is perfectly fine too. Sometimes you just need no agenda and no words, just a time to relax. Don't forget the importance of building that in and the rest that your brain really does need. So no matter how it looks for you to rest and relax, make an effort to build that time of rest into your routine. If you don't schedule it, it might not happen. Feeling a little stuck? Let me show you some tips and tricks on how you can find the resources you need and what has helped us. When I tried working all of Adam's goals at once or a little bit at every day, it left me feeling so completely stressed. And eventually I was overwhelmed, so nothing got done. I really had to work on a method that worked for me. I decided to theme weeks. So week 1 for us is all computer activities, and that's what we focus on, whether it's typing, coding, that's the stuff that matters to Adam. Week 2 might be all of the kitchen projects and the things that he wants to do that way. Find the themes that work for you and try maybe making a theme for each week. When Adam was first discharged home, I immediately began to introduce him into the activities that I knew he enjoyed before, only to find him get so irritable and frustrated And I realized it was because all that has changed in him changed who he was as well. And maybe it was time to find and introduce new activities. But the same was true actually for me too. So much of us had changed that we needed to give ourselves permission to get to know each other again and to relearn the things that we like. These are just a few things that have helped us and a few resources that might be helpful for you. We love the app Constant Therapy. It's a cognitive speech app. It's real life pictures, real life activities, and it's fantastic. It does come with a little bit of a price tag, but what we've done is we wrote the company several years ago, sharing our story, telling them what a difference the app has made in our life, and they actually gave Adam a scholarship for a lifetime membership to the app. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Again, anything you want to do or relearn probably is available on YouTube. It's a great place to start. If there's a specific idea you have in mind, but you're just not quite sure how to execute it, Pinterest is a really good place to resource that. You can just search by what you have in mind and plenty of activities will come up. If you've heard me speak before, you know I'm a fan of meetup groups, mainly because they can tap into areas of Adam's recovery that I'm not interested in. And I've noticed with many of meetup groups during this time that they're making their groups available online. Don't forget the power of the hashtag. Who knows, maybe you're going to find yourself in a hashtag Wednesday Wellness. One of my favorite resources to find worksheets that matter to Adam is Teachers Pay Teachers. Usually the worksheets come with a small cost, but they're not much. Might be a good resource for you to check out. And as you've heard me talk throughout this presentation, you know I'm a fan of those Amazon wish lists. So get creating yours today, send them out to your friends and family, and post them on your social media. You will be totally surprised what might come your way. And when all else fails, I'm gonna give a little tip of wisdom that Adam shares with me. When you're feeling discouraged or frustrated or feeling like nothing works, a cup of coffee and a 20-second hug can usually cure just about anything. Often when Adam gets frustrated and irritated, that's one of the first things I say to him. Would you like a cup of coffee and a 20-second hug? Go ahead and just get started today. I promise you're not going to be disappointed with your sense of community and your active lifestyle that is bound to come your way. Let's go ahead and do a quick recap. Goals help define our success. So even though it's a daunting task to label them all out, it really will help to define what makes things important to you and how to define that success. Start somewhere, just start. And don't forget to start small. Don't be afraid to ask. Whether it's like the example I gave with Constant Therapy, there's plenty of other online resources that offer discounts to people with disabilities. So it might just mean you have to do a little extra legwork to send those emails, to write out your story, but it might make a significant difference to your wallet. And give yourself permission to have experienced the change you've gone through. Just like I said in that one slide, both Adam and I have changed. And the medical professionals did a great job in preparing me for understanding that Adam would have changed, but nobody prepared me for how I was going to change. In fact, about a year ago, I redid my Myers-Briggs, and every single one of my letters switched to the opposite since prior to the journey. So give yourself permission to get to know yourself again. And resources don't have to be complicated. They can be as simple as writing out a journal or starting a garden. Don't overcomplicate it and find ways that make sense to you. And if you've taken anything away from here today you plan on implementing, please tag us on our social media handles. Or if you're just interested in knowing more about our journey and our recovery process, give us a follow. We update pretty regularly. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open it up for questions and answers. So I'm going to turn off my screen share and turn my camera back on if anyone has any questions. Any questions?
And everybody else can turn their cameras back on. Let's see if you have. Okay, I see some of you there, but you can turn your cameras on if you want. And I can unmute everybody. Let's see here. Hey, Barbara. Let's unmute everybody so we could hear you. Katrina joined us. Hey, Katrina. Katrina, you had your camera on, but I turned it off, so you can turn it back on, though, if you want to. Hey, Sally. All right, any questions for Amy?
Yeah, I do. In doing these various things with Adam, how long can he work at a particular skill before he gets frustrated? Attention span might be the old time fashioned word, but how long can he focus on a project before he either loses interest or gets bored or gets frustrated?
That's so individualized to each group that we work on. So for computers and stuff, because that's so interesting to him and that's something he's passionate about, he can usually work a little longer. With kitchen, even though it's something he wants to do, like a cooking task, I find I have to really give specific goals or let him take breaks when we're cooking, because he does lose his attention span. And I think it's because it gets too stimulating in the kitchen. There's too many things going on at one time. So I've learned that task takes a little bit less. Writing for Adam and reading, I have to keep to a minimum. They exhaust him, they fatigue him, and it's not his favorite. So those, I pretty much, for me, set a timer between 8 and 10 minutes, and I stop him after that. He might want to keep going, but I find he gets agitated and it's not worth it for me. So I always will have a task right behind that and say, I know you're not done yet, but we're going to close this. We'll come back to it later. Let's move on. And it's not because I'm trying to be rude. It's because I'm trying to save him from the agitation that I know is going to come, but he has no idea is coming.
Understood.
And Amy, last week, after I had stopped the recording, a couple of people asked how, daughter was involved in the therapy. I don't know if you've given any more thought to that, but I had stopped the recording. So if you want to put any way about how your daughter is involved in the therapy and Adam's quality of life.
Yeah, I think, like I said on Tuesday, that's been something that has come and gone for her. So in the beginning, when everything happened, she wanted to understand. So she wanted to be around us. She wanted to be involved. She didn't want to feel like she lost both of us. So really working with the medical professionals on how to bring her in to the therapies that were in the hospital, but age appropriately, getting her involved, getting her hands-on, that was important. But then a couple years later, she went through a period of being really angry and frustrated with life flipping upside down and it not being fair. And giving her that permission to breathe and to feel that anger and to walk through it, not being mad at her for it, but giving her a healthy outlet. That's how she got involved to horses. Horses have saved that girl's life. It gives her something physically active to be involved in. It gives her something where she can emotionally just pour her heart out. And then continuing over the years, as she's wanted to step in and out of the journey, allowing her to do that, not just saying, oh, you have to, this is your dad, you need to do this, but being like, okay, if this is where you need to back off and you just don't need to be a part of this, that's okay.
Has your husband gotten involved in the horses at all?
On and off. So Adam actually grew up on a horse farm. He grew up on a thoroughbred racing horse farm. So his entire upbringing was mucking stalls and taking care of horses. So it's very natural to him, and he will muck stalls, brush horses reluctantly. He has no interest at all whatsoever on getting on a horse.
I've worked with Rolling Ridge, which we work with a lot of the younger kids and some developmental delays, but I found it to be very therapeutic just to myself, just working with them. It's been great just to see how people can evolve from that.
I find it therapy for me. I ride with my daughter and I go and groom the horses. I definitely find that peace there too for me.
Yeah, I love
I
it.
know you told me one time that when Adam was with the horses, if Adam was agitated, the horse would kind of get calmer, so the horse could kind of read his emotions.
We have one horse in particular. Her name is Sassy, and she is sassy, but she is the one who I will always put with Adam. She's the caretaker. She knows something is so different about Adam, and I see her where she might be sassy and push Mackenzie. She's totally adapted to Adam, and she'll take care of Adam. He'll be frustrated, but she'll lean into him. He might be like, just like irritable, but she'll totally relax her demeanor and come up to Adam. So I definitely I wouldn't suggest putting somebody with brain injury around a horse that they're unfamiliar with. But for Adam and Sassy, she's a really good fit because she's the caretaker for him.
Amy, do you think maybe Adam is maybe afraid of falling off of the horse? Like he had a motorcycle accident or something?
Are you asking if Adam is afraid of the horse?
I saw a shot on the sidewalk, and I'm still afraid that I'm going to fall again. And it's been over 3 years now. And,
Trina tripped on a piece of sidewalk and kind of fell flat down on her face and got a concussion. And so since then, she hasn't really wanted to go out of the house and do things. They had a big RV. They were going to travel the world, but she doesn't want to do that anymore. Her tastes have changed. So she hasn't been afraid of falling again.
And has Adam had any problems with his hearing or his eyesight or anything like that since he has the TBI?
So I caught little bits and pieces of that. In presentation number 1, I shared a little bit about Adam's eyesight. He has a right side hemianopsia, so he doesn't see out of the right side of both of his eyes. He suffered from a right side neglect for about 6 years where he just totally ignored the right side of his body. He has gone through additional trauma as surgeries have had to take place. So there's not just been the original injury, there's been other things that have happened along the way. Each one bringing its own complications and its own setbacks. But I have seen Adam be a little bit more cautious and fearful in some areas. And I understand that, and I think that's good for him, but I'm also know that as a caregiver, I want to do my best to help him overcome that fear safely. So trying to find those tasks to start small so that he can still be successful at overcoming an irrational fear, or how to keep himself safe. So walking him through it, talking him through it, and for Adam, because of memory, he's lost the ability to really maintain memory. I noticed he builds it best when he does it over and over and over and over again. So if I'm working on something that he's having to overcome a fear, I will make him do it 5 or 6 times in a row, and I'll do it day after day after day after day. And sometimes it just takes that time to make that connection that he is safe. He can do that safely. And that's how we can overcome that irrational fear.
He hasn't had any problem with his hearing because of the trauma or anything?
Not that we can tell. His hearing seems to be completely intact.
Because I just have had to get hearing aids because of the fall in my eyes. I've had to get, in the first year, I had to get 2 new prescriptions for my glasses because my eyes keep getting worse. And my memory, I was in banking for years and years, and we were in Germany, and I worked with foreign currencies. And then I had a license as a broker since '98. And then since my accident, I can't balance a checkbook anymore, so I had to take cognitive therapy. And that's just very depressing to me because I can't drive so far anymore. So I feel like I'm not able to do anything.
Well, you're still a wonderful, fantastic woman, and fortunately, she has a loving husband that loves her and helps her out, and she helps him out, and because he's had some health issues too. But anyway, thank you, Katrina. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
And I got service dog.
If is there any last thing you want to show us, Amy, or I'm gonna stop the recording if we're
As long as there's no more questions, I think we're good.
Amy, I just want to comment.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Tuesday and Thursday have been wonderful. Thank you so much. Susan, thank you for initiating, organizing this, and it's just been great.
Thank you.
We'll get the recordings out, and the recording is going to be available for 3 months. And I just want to share this with people because I think they can watch it in the, whatever time is good for them.
I think that would be great.
I'm going to say goodbye then.
I didn't know about
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.